Hi, Andy Biggs here from Arizona's 5th Congressional District. I'm here to explain my vote on the debt ceiling bill. Now, what the debt ceiling does is normally you would raise the cap, just like on a credit card loan. Maybe you had a limit of $3,500 and it gets raised to $5,000. What's happening in this particular bill, however, is they are actually removing the cap altogether from the date of enactment of this bill through January 1st, 2025. They cynically don't want you to know how much the dollar amount is that will be added to the national debt over that period of time. But the estimates are approximately $4 trillion. And if there's additional spending that comes up, it will be more than $4 trillion. So the bottom line is, you're going to have the speakers out there saying this is the biggest budget cut in the history of America, and I will explain to you why that is not true. So what's really happening is you're having kind of a spending levelization. It's not a spending cap, it's not even a spending freeze, and it's not at the 2022 levels. It's above the 2022 levels, which means that we're still at the high levels of spending that came in with the COVID relief packages. That's part of the problem. And then they're taking that and they're saying we're going to grow that at 1% per year. But they only really try and cap it for 2 years. What they do then at that point is they set targets for the next 4 years. And that has been scored at, if all targets are met, that's a $1.3 trillion savings over 10 years, right? So that's roughly a $130 billion a year savings if every target was met. But we know frequently here targets aren't met because the people here love to spend more money, and there's not going to be a cap. So think of it this way: every year you're going to have about $1.8 to $2 trillion or more in national debt, and they say you're going to save $130 billion, which is ephemeral. You don't even know if that's real. So that's one of the major problems with this. Another problem with this is the rescission package. So previously I submitted legislation to rescind pretty close to $1 trillion. And what that is you gather back money that's in agencies that are not being spent. So like you had COVID relief money. When we initially were talking about it, it was well over $100 billion, but this administration's been trying to throw that money out as quick as it can. So they're now at about $29 billion. So this bill doesn't rescind anything else but that COVID relief package money of $29 billion. Well, that would be interesting enough, and that wouldn't be the worst thing. That's a pretty good thing, except for it's not a true rescission because they're parking about $22.8 billion of that money in the Department of Commerce with no restriction on how that money gets spent. And the thought is, quite frankly, that they're going to try to go around the caps of the first 2 years that are supposed to be hard caps. I don't know how hard they are, and try to backfill agencies and departments. And we already have seen that the Senate chair of the Committee for Armed Services has already said, before we've even voted on this bill, that he's going to try to find a way around those caps. That's the point, is that this will not be real a stoppage of spending. Okay, so what else you got? So what else we have is they came in and they said this is going to be transformative, and it's called the administrative pay-go. Now, we operate under pay-go ostensibly here in Congress. That's where we're going to do a new program, we're going to increase spending or something. We're going to have to find a way to fund that without increasing additional revenue, right? But that is not what we do here. We waive the pay-go provisions all the time. Now, when I say we, it's my colleagues, because I vote no on that, because you cannot do that. If you're going to be responsible, you have to take care of it. So the administrative pay-go was to try to impose the same kind of spending restraint on the bureaucracy. But here's the problem. The bill delegates to the director of the Office of Management and Budget, who right now is a Biden appointee, who's a lefty a lawyer. It gives them authority to just waive that pay-go requirement at any time that she deems necessary. That means that you're not going to save any money, which is interesting enough because a couple of days ago, CBO was scoring that as more than $1 trillion in savings, and now there's no score on that. Why? Because we all know it's a sham. It's not real. So that's a problem. So, what else do we have? Well, the Speaker promised that he was going to pass legislation to get rid of the IRS agents, 87,000 of them, that are coming on to harass Americans. Well, here's the deal. We did pass that legislation out. It's been just laying in the Senate with nothing happening. In this particular bill, however, what they're going to tell you is they're taking care of the IRS agents, but it's just a small section, and it's about $1.4 trillion. The problem with it is, it doesn't, I'm sorry, I said 1.4 trillion, I meant to say $1.4 billion of the $71 billion for the new agents. The problem is, there is no limiting language. There's no language in there that says you cannot backfill, you cannot, that prohibits them from actually proceeding with the hiring of agents. Money is fungible, and that's what's happening here. It's just another ruse. The agents are going to be hired, and that's what's going on here, and that is another prevarication from leadership. So ultimately, $31.4 trillion is going to be close to 36, maybe even as high as $37 trillion by the time we consider the debt ceiling again in January of 25. This is a bad deal for the American people. There are other aspects of this. I've tried to not get into the weeds too much. I just wanted to present to you some rational reasons why I felt I cannot support, I cannot vote for a bill that gives that kind of carte blanche authority. Now I'm going to throw one more thing at you. Our leadership have said there's not one thing in this bill for the Democrats. I've just given to you some things there. There's nothing in this bill for Republicans. But I will tell you this, the chief economic advisor for President Biden said yesterday, this deal continues and cements in President Biden's progressive agenda. That is something for the Democrats. And it is not for the American people. A $4 trillion national debt increase, that is not good for the American people. So that's why I'm voting no, and I wanted you to know that. And I might do another one of these, going to some of the even more weedy part of the details of this bill. But for now, that's where I stand, and I'll keep you posted.